Welcome to Cultural Lens, the podcast where we explore common misconceptions about different cultures and work to understand them better. Today, we're diving into Brazil, a country known for its lively culture and beautiful landscapes. But what do we really know about it beyond the stereotypes? I'm joined by Doris, a cultural expert from Brazil. Doris, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Sophia. It's great to be here and discuss some of the common misconceptions about my country. I'm excited to set the record straight.
Fantastic. Through this discussion, we aim to provide insights into Brazil's culture, traditions, and realities. Let's get started. Let's dive right in. One stereotype that comes up a lot is the idea that all Brazilians are passionate about soccer. Is that true?
Well, soccer is indeed a big part of Brazilian culture, especially during events like the World Cup, but not everyone is as obsessed with it as people might think. Brazil is a huge country, and interests vary widely depending on region and even individual. There are people who are more passionate about music, art, or even politics than about soccer.
That's a great point. And speaking of passions, what about Brazilian food? People often assume that Brazilian cuisine is just about barbecue and meat-heavy dishes. Is that accurate?
Not really. While BBQ or churrasco is very popular in Brazil, the cuisine is much more diverse. Depending on where you are in Brazil, the food can change drastically. For instance, in the northeast, you'll find a lot of seafood dishes and acarajé, which is fried dough with shrimp. And in the Amazon, there are local ingredients like tacacá or guaraná, which are unique to the region. Our food culture is vibrant, and there's so much more than just meat.
It sounds like there's a whole world of flavors to explore beyond the stereotypical image of Brazilian food.
Exactly. Brazilian cuisine is a true reflection of the country's diverse history, blending indigenous, African, and European influences. It's important to explore that diversity beyond what's often shown in the media.
Fascinating. Now, there's another stereotype I've encountered that everyone in Brazil is always partying or celebrating. Is that an accurate representation?
While it's true that Brazil is known for its carnival and festive spirit, not every Brazilian is always in party mode. Life in Brazil is complex. People work hard, face challenges, and have very different lifestyles depending on their region, class, and background. Carnival is a big celebration, but it doesn't define us all year round.
That's so important to highlight. Brazil, like any country, has a variety of everyday lives beyond the stereotypical party image. We've received some listener questions, and I'd love to get your thoughts on them. Our first one is from Emily, who asks, why do people assume that all Brazilians are passionate about soccer?
As I mentioned earlier, soccer is definitely a big part of our culture, but there's also a lot of room for other interests. In some regions, people are more into volleyball or even motorsports, like Formula 1. We've had successful Brazilian drivers who are legends, like Ayrton Senna. So it's about recognizing that one interest doesn't define an entire culture.
That's a great point. People's interests are shaped by a lot of factors beyond nationality. Our second question is from David. Is it true that people in Brazil are always dancing or celebrating?
No, not really. While dancing, especially samba and forró, are important parts of Brazilian culture, it's a part of specific events and gatherings, not something that happens all the time. People in Brazil enjoy their personal time and downtime just like anyone else. It's just that when we do celebrate, we go all in.
I think that's an important distinction to make. Celebrations are special, not constant. Now, how can people better understand Brazil and avoid perpetuating these misconceptions?
I'd suggest taking the time to engage with locals and get to know different perspectives. Brazil is a massive country with vast regional differences, and each region has its own history and way of life. Avoid relying solely on media portrayals and try to dig deeper into the nuances of culture. Listening to local voices is key.
I love that advice. Engaging with locals helps paint a more accurate picture. Is there anything else you'd suggest?
Yes, don't forget about the power of local literature, music, and film. Brazilian artists have a unique way of expressing the country's multifaceted identity, and getting into those forms of art can teach you a lot about the heart of Brazil.
That's wonderful advice. Art and culture are often the best windows into understanding a nation. Today, we explored some of the common misconceptions about Brasilique, the idea that everyone is obsessed with soccer or that the country is always in party mode. We learned that Brazil's culture is rich, diverse, and far more complex than those stereotypes. We encourage you, our listeners, to reflect on your own perceptions of Brazil and share your thoughts or questions in the comments below. In our next episode, we'll be examining the cultural nuances of Japan. Join us then.